By the end of this video, you'll have a deeper understanding of the key differences, advantages, and disadvantages in Elementor versus Divi, and you'll be able to confidently pick your builder. We'll cover which builder is easier to use overall, which has the best pre-made templates and designs, how their built-in elements stack up against one another, which is the best choice for WooCommerce stores, how each builder handles dynamic data, the performance and SEO impact of Elementor versus Divi. We'll also take a look at how many add-ons are available, and what each builder costs overall when considering third-party extensions you won't want to live without. First, let's take a look at Elementor versus Divi in terms of how easy they are to get started with. Elementor is generally considered more user-friendly than a lot of other builders. In Elementor, you'll find a modern, familiar interface. The panels are mostly where you'd expect, and the controls are pretty standard. For the most part, beginners and professionals can both get along just fine in Elementor after spending a few hours getting familiar with it. If you're coming from another builder that uses a more modern interface pattern, it'll take even less time than that. It could do better by including some more helpful and convenient pre-built elements. Here are a few of the most notable missing elements that I found. A dedicated element for building headers. You can build headers in Elementor using containers, but effects like sticky and overlay headers have to be manually added and sometimes require code snippets. The Elementor menu builder is still in beta. It would be great if they had a production-ready menu builder that wasn't tied to the clunky WordPress menu system, but for now, you have to enable a beta feature to get access to that. There are quite a few more that are missing, like tooltips, maskers, and code blocks. Plus, the WooCommerce elements that are included are fairly disappointing. We'll take a look at that in more detail later. Other modern builders like Breakdance, for example, come with these types of elements built in. Elementor, however, relies pretty heavily on paid third-party add-ons to round out the element list. Divi is not usually considered one of the more user-friendly options when it comes to visual site builders. Here, you'll find a more dated approach to page builder interfaces, which includes floating panels and buttons that kind of appear and disappear depending on what your mouse cursor is hovered over. This can feel a bit like fireworks going off randomly when you first jump into Divi, especially if you're already used to something with a more modern, understated interface. Once you get used to it, however, it's okay. You're just going to have a much longer adjustment period due to the more drastic departure from common user interface and user experience patterns in software today. But just like Elementor, it's missing a few key elements like the header builder and menu builder that we talked about with Elementor. The menu element it does include is tied to WordPress's built-in menu system as well, which is fairly clunky. It's also missing some time saver elements like an automated table of contents and an element for showing Lottie animations. Beyond that, it doesn't include a way to build fully custom post loops, which is a huge setback if you're building a site that needs to display posts in a more unique manner. While both builders have some major downsides when it comes to ease of use, Elementor edges Divi out here. But it's important to keep in mind that Divi 5 is just around the corner, and some of this is likely to be improved since it's a ground-up rebuild. How quickly you can get going with the builder isn't only about the tool itself, but also what kind of pre-made templates are available. Elementor has 58 pre-made templates. I'm testing with an Essentials plan, but it looks like some of these templates are supposed to be gated behind an Advanced or higher plan. That being said, I was still able to import them. This isn't a huge deal, but it was a point of confusion for me that I think could trip some people up, especially if you're not supposed to be able to access these advanced templates on lower plans. The designs look fairly nice, but most of them look like templates. There are a few standouts that break that mold, however. Customizing an imported template is easy as long as you only want to customize the basics. You can tweak colors, fonts, and a few other site-wide settings. For deeper customization, though, you'll likely have to go element by element, which can be time-consuming. Divi has a much more robust offering when it comes to templates, with 370 layout packs containing over 2,000 total layouts. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to just import all the pages and designs from a template into the site like you can with Elementor. Divi requires you to import layouts from packs on a per page or per template basis. Design-wise, Divi's layouts and layout packs maintain a decent level of quality throughout. There's a good mixture of more modern aesthetic layouts and some more grounded everyday options. Customization is on a per element basis, since Divi itself doesn't have global styles without the Divi theme installed as well. This means tweaking an imported layout is going to take some extra time. Both builders kind of fall apart when it comes to customizing imported designs, with weak or non-existent global styling options. If they had taken inspiration from a builder like Breakdance, for example, you'd be able to get an imported pre-made design customized in just a few minutes. But as it stands today with Elementor and Divi, you're going to be putting in a lot more work to get an off-the-shelf template on brand for your project. All that being said, Divi is going to be the winner here when it comes to pre-made templates just due to the sheer amount and quality of layouts that they offer. We touched on this in the ease of use section, but now let's take a closer look at the built-in elements included with Elementor versus Divi. Elementor has 145 built-in elements or widgets if you include the large number of WordPress widgets included in the elements list. The elements are fairly robust with plenty of customization options, but they're generally not going to look great without some tweaks. Each element has a content panel where you can customize things like the actual text in the element and some aspects of its styling, and then a style panel where most of the styling controls for colors, typography, and more can be found. There's also an advanced tab for more in-depth customization like padding, margins, animations, and more. The customization process is pretty easy, but it could be better if the elements started off with excellent default styles, so fewer tweaks were necessary. Divi has 68 elements or modules out of the box. You can get more elements via Divi's marketplace, and some of them are free, but many of the available add-ons are going to cost some extra money. The elements are a little dated and, just like Elementor, don't look very good by default. Divi does have a presets feature that means after some time, you'll be able to apply your own handmade presets to make elements look how you want, which will save you some time. Due to having more elements and those elements being slightly easier to customize, we're giving this point to Elementor. Both builders would benefit greatly from some better default styles and more global styling options to make elements start off closer to how you want them to look. A great example of better default elements and styles can be found in Breakdance, where over 145 built-in elements all look great out of the box, and because of global styles, you can get them on brand in just a few clicks. A great WooCommerce integration is critical for anyone who wants to build e-commerce sites using WordPress. So let's take a look at using WooCommerce with Elementor versus Divi. Elementor comes with 25 WooCommerce elements, and they only cover the most basic aspects of your store. When it comes to customization, the WooCommerce integration in Elementor falls a bit flat. Here are a few examples. Due to Elementor's lack of global styling as a fundamental focus, the elements don't look great when you first add them to your site. The products element, which is used for displaying a list of products on your shop page or other archives, only allows a few limited layout options, and you can't remove aspects of the list that you don't want. While the checkout and cart elements do allow you to style these important forms, you can't rearrange the individual areas. The bottom line here is that to get an enjoyable and robust WooCommerce integration, you're going to have to shell out about $99 a year for something like ShopLinter, which used to be called WooLinter, and adds all these missing aspects to the WooCommerce integration. Divi comes with 25 WooCommerce elements out of the box. For customization, Divi fares a little better, and here's why. Divi has granular elements for laying out pages like the cart and checkout how you want, rather than locking you into a rigid, predetermined layout. Its product list element gives you the ability to hide elements you don't want, which is a huge bonus for more bespoke shop pages. Also, I should note that in my tests with Divi, even after importing an e-commerce design from their library, the shop page looked pretty bad. And just like Elementor, Divi does lack thorough global styles for WooCommerce, making it harder and more time-consuming to customize WooCommerce elements across your site. And though it's not exactly WooCommerce specific, Divi does include a native split testing feature, which can be really important if you're selling things online. Due to the more granular nature of the elements, a more flexible product list element, And having built-in split testing, this one's going to go to Divi. But unfortunately, both builders leave a lot to be desired when it comes to WooCommerce. If you want to see what a best-in-class WooCommerce integration looks like, Breakdance is a great example. It has 35 WooCommerce elements with great default styles. It uses global styles for WooCommerce, making it easy and fast to customize all aspects of your store. It has a real product loop builder, allowing you to build 100% custom product loops for your shop page and product archives. This is a huge feature that both Elementor and Divi are missing. It supports WooCommerce shop filters, which Divi does not. It has granular cart and checkout elements, giving you super flexible layout options. It also has built-in display conditions for WooCommerce, like cart quantity or total customer spend, which Elementor is missing. There are quite a few other features that Breakdance ships with and Elementor and Divi don't, making it clear that Breakdance was built with WooCommerce in mind from the very beginning, whereas Divi and Elementor tacked on support for WooCommerce as an afterthought. It would be great if they step up their game to be on Breakdance's level, but for now, comparing Elementor to Divi and taking Breakdance out of the equation, Divi has more of the key features you'll want when working with WooCommerce. Next, let's take a look at how our competitors compare when it comes to dynamic data features and support. Elementor has 32 options when choosing a dynamic data source for a text element. It doesn't include support for ACF fields like repeaters and flexible content fields, which can be a huge problem for more complex sites. For display conditions, it has 22 comparison options, but it's missing some key ones like custom PHP conditions and WooCommerce specific conditions. Unfortunately, Divi fares even worse here with only 28 data sources for a text element. It also lacks support for more advanced ACF fields like repeaters and flexible content, just like Elementor. Divi comes out a bit better on conditions with 27 comparison options and a few WooCommerce specific ones like cart contents, product stock, and product purchase. It's hard to declare a clear winner here because they're kind of neck and neck, so we're going to call this one a tie. Both Elementor and Divi are missing some pretty critical dynamic data features, like support for ACF repeaters and flexible content fields, more conditional comparison options, including custom PHP conditions, a better selection of WooCommerce conditions, and of course the ultimate dynamic data feature, a PHP code block. If dynamic data is something you really value, it may be worth looking at a different builder that has more depth in that area, like Breakdance. A site that loads slow or doesn't show up in search engines isn't very useful. So let's take a look at performance and SEO next. Elementor has recently made some big improvements when it comes to performance, but it's still plagued by larger page sizes and slower loading times. As far as SEO is concerned, Elementor's output of excessive amounts of divs tends to have a negative impact, so it's something to consider depending on your goals. Divi has remained a bit more static when it comes to performance, but it still beats Elementor by most metrics. As far as SEO is concerned, Divi is about on par with Elementor, outputting more divs than is necessary for elements added via the builder. Both builders require a significant compromise on performance, clean code output, and ultimately SEO viability, but Divi just barely takes the win here due to a slightly smaller uncompressed page size. Really, a modern builder should be able to ace all of these points, but unfortunately, both Divi and Elementor are dealing with a long history of technical debt and bloat that's just difficult to strip away this late in the game. If you want a tool that's production ready and prioritizes performance, a more modern builder like Breakdance is going to give you better results without needing to make tweaks or rely on a performance plugin. We've covered a ton of different features and aspects of each builder, but the truth is most of the downsides can be compensated for if you're willing to pay extra. So let's take a look at not only the cost of Elementor versus Divi on their own, but also what it's going to cost to add the features they're missing out of the box. The baseline cost for an Elementor license is between $60 and $399 depending on how many sites you plan on building. For an extension that adds better WooCommerce features, you'll shell out an extra $99 to $199 per year. An extension that provides a more complete ACF integration will cost somewhere between $169 and $299 per year. A better conditions extension will be around $80 to $230 depending on the number of sites you have. We didn't even mention forms, but if you want more advanced forms, you'll shell out around $200 a year on average for a separate form plugin with more features. Add in a third-party mega menu element and you're looking at another $199 per year. Finally, for more global WooCommerce styles, you'll need a premium theme, which is usually around $99 a year. If we use the lowest prices in each range, you're looking at a yearly cost of at least $900 to use Elementor and get all of these key features. If you have multiple sites, the price climbs even more. The base cost for a Divi license is either $89 per year or $249 if you opt for the lifetime deal. An extension with better WooCommerce features for Divi is going to cost between $49 and $139 one time. A better ACF integration for Divi is going to be around $130 per year. For more robust conditional display options, you're going to pay about $49 a year. Again, forms are a pretty important part of any site, and if you need more than the basic forms that Divi supports natively, you'll spend around $200 a year on a form plugin. To add a menu builder with mega menu capabilities, it'll be about $39 per year. Global WooCommerce styles will run you about $99 a year in the form of a WooCommerce-focused theme. So, since some of Divi's offerings have a lifetime deal, you're looking at around $500 per year to fill in most of the feature gaps. Unfortunately, this doesn't include one-time costs for things like better WooCommerce features and more powerful conditions, so it's hard to directly compare to Elementor here. If you take the lifetime deal option, Divi is a much better value. Looking at cost and value alone, we're going to give Divi the win just barely on this point. It should be noted that all the features we talked about here that require an extension in Elementor and Divi are included for free in builders like Breakdance. Having more of these features available natively in your builder is going to simplify your stack and lower your costs significantly. Based on everything we've looked at today, Divi comes out on top overall. That being said, I think if you're looking to let clients loose inside a builder and don't mind spending way more money to fill feature gaps, Elementor may be the better option for you. Ultimately, the comparison is pretty close. Choosing either builder, however, requires making some major compromises. If you don't want to make those compromises and you want to get more built-in features, pay less overall, get better performance, and experience a modern take on visual site builders, Breakdance is worth a look. So to wrap it up, when we're looking at Elementor versus Divi, Divi is the overall winner. So choose it if you want more bang for your buck. Compared to Divi, Elementor is much more client-friendly, but also far more expensive if you want to add all the missing features back in via extensions. But if you want to avoid the numerous trade-offs and downsides of both Elementor and Divi, it may be time for you to check out a truly modern visual site builder like Breakdance.